everybody, welcome back to another, what series is it? Crochet vlog. Oh my god. Why was I about to say Wildflowers or Sims 4 or something? Okay. Yep. Wow. Kit here. Kit has lost her mind. She's lost her back muscles and she's lost her mind. Okay, I'm feeling a lot better on the whole back thing, but it still hurts. Take some TLC, do some stretching. Don't let the muscles do the pulling completely. They're mean. They're really mean. Anywho. Okay. Right. Apparently this is the no brain episode because I don't really know what to say. But we are on which one are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're on chapter 14 now. Yay! I need to just put a number. You know what? Let's just put a freaking number. That way I don't have to keep counting and being stupid. So the project for today is, it's familiar yarn, at least to this series. I was working on a shawl for myself, with the same skein. I've forgotten what the color, wait, no I haven't, because I've got a new one right here. Sunny Day, Lion Brand Cupcake. And I was making myself a shawl, but honestly I hated the pattern. It was so hard to follow. I'm pretty sure I messed up and it just wasn't fun to make. So I frogged it and I decided to go on ahead and bite the bullet and start making a granny square hexagon cardigan. So basically, you're supposed to just make a granny hexagon, and you just make it as big as you need it to, and you make two of them that are identical, and it folds up to be exactly half of a cardigan. Now, for those of you who may be like me and don't know what a cardigan is, well, that is basically like a jacket. Yeah, it's just a sweater. I don't know why they have to call it cardigan. It's just a sweater. It's just a jacket sweater. But anyway, so I'm not sure when I'll be folding it up and showing the camera, but I'll be folding it up and showing the camera. And essentially it makes exactly half of a cardigan. So then you make another identical half, you sew them together, and you've got something that you can wear, apparently. I don't know. All I know is that it's fun, quick and easy to work up, and it is extremely aesthetically pleasing to me, so wish me luck. But that is the project for today. Now, today's chapter is a relatively short one because I will be perfectly honest, I was looking over it last time and I ended up kind of sort of reading the entire thing, so it is fairly shorter before we get into bigger, nittier, grittier stuff in chapter 15. See, look, the number's already helping. So what happened last time was her grandfather came back into town and she had to break that. Be right back, apparently. Alright, I'm back. Apparently Flash is not being very nice to Chewy because Flash has a bone and Chewy's being annoying, apparently. So he's been banished to my room. Right, where was I? Right, basically, grandfather came back to town, and no Chewy. She had to break the news. It was really sad, really difficult, but he's here now, you know? Chooster, okay, come here, buddy. Chooster, no, Chooster, come here. Chooster, come here. Why aren't you listening to me? Chewy, come here. Well, that's right. My grandmother's not training you, so you don't know crap. Oh, wait, there you are. Hi, you come here. You could just be with me. Ow. Bending over is not fun right now. Yes, you are a little shit. Okay. But, yeah. Especially, basically, oh yeah, and then there was a whole, like, fight with her mother, and just Rosa had to step in, and it was an emotional chapter. Let's just put it that way. So now let's move into chapter 14, which is happier. It's happier. Mm-hmm. So chapter 14, going on. For the first time in a long time, I felt okay. Better, even. I felt good. School wasn't such a drag when at the end of it, there was my Pops sitting outside with a white chocolate mocha with an extra pump of white chocolate just for me with a smile. It was easier to get through the paperwork Simon kept throwing my way when Pops was right there helping me through it, grumbling about paper cuts. He always knew how to make me laugh. And when he found it, Chewy, don't lick the mic. Apparently Chewy wants to give everybody a kiss. And when he found out that Simon left me at, trigger warning, Suicide Bridge, Pops had excused himself and had a chat with Simon in the men's restroom. I didn't question why Simon's suit was all wet or why his face looked swirlied. Some things are better left unquestioned. Of course, once Pops found out, Rosa was bound to, and everyone heard the wonderful use of Spanish curses being flung inside that closed office. It went on for an hour, and eventually everyone stopped laughing. Peter was no longer a problem, and just like magic, the magic of hard work and being afraid for your life and career, that is, Dracula's button was found, put in a safe box, and delivered promptly to the corner of Rosa's desk for her to catalog when she returned from her 3-week cruise. She had worked so hard, and had caused Simon to go deaf for 2 weeks, that she deserved a good vacation. She sent me various photos and called me every day to gossip about everything. It was good to hear her so happy. But don't worry, she told me. She would be back in time to throw the office Halloween party, just like every year. Some things, thankfully, never changed. Buddy, let's not hear him move the mic, because he keeps, Hopefully you can hear me a little bit better, too, because somebody's big fuzzy head was in the way. Yes. Midterms came and went with everyone in the dorm stressing. I studied like crazy for my herbology written and practical exam. The practical was awful. On top of taking care of and breeding mice and incubating an egg, which still showed no signs of hatching, I had to grow a filth feeder in an aquarium. It was one of the hardest 2 weeks of my life, making sure to do no sudden or loud movements so the thing wouldn't squelch ink and filth everywhere, and I was thankful when I could, carefully walking as slow as molasses to class, turn in for a grade. I passed with A's and vowed to never take herbology again once this semester was over. I was still at a standstill on the brooch on Professor Paris's neck. She got more and more suspicious the more I looked at it, which made everything worse. She hated me. I was a permanent member of the Troublemaker Station. Travis and I slowly acquired an easygoing, no-talking relationship. He never said a word, and I never pressured him. Claire just dealt with me, but I was starting to see it was all just a tough girl act. I also noticed how she always seemed to have some sort of animal in her pocket. A pet lizard, a wild bird on her shoulder, a snake. What? Chewy! Buddy! You cannot go outside right now, you little shit. I'm having to hold him, otherwise he's scratching at the door. A snake nestled in her hood. It made no difference to what it was. Okay, you are annoying. If it was an animal, she probably had it in her pocket or entangled at her feet. One time, she tried bringing a puppy to class and got kicked out. 5 minutes later, with strict instructions never to bring that destructive animal near the greenhouse again after 4 destroyed plants, 2 broken pots, 3 poop piles, and a pea spot later. Yeah, that sounds about you, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound like you? With my classmates, herbology was slowly becoming bearable. Saturday classes still sucked, but with Pops back in town, we were going back to the gym near every day. Gun range every 2 days, and the beach every Sunday morning with waffles, of course. He found a nice modern condo with all the amenities, a short 3-minute walk from Greenvale, and I spent almost as much time there as he did over at my dorm. Everyone just accepted he would be there. When some of the kids' parents had a problem with it, they backed down with a single sharp look. I was right about him not liking Dim. Turns out he knew Narcus and thought just about as fondly of him as I did, which is to say not at all. But he tolerated everything well enough because he knew I didn't have much of a choice in it. I was the heir, and he would rather have to deal with stupidity and idiots than for me to turn my back on such a responsibility. It was my duty and all that jazz. Of course, we still had our bad days. Pops wouldn't even look at Ariana, much less stay in the same room as her. After her outburst the other day, neither did I. More often than not, I would find him hurriedly wiping his eyes when I entered a room, holding a picture of Dad. Simon given him copies of the pictures he had, considering we lost it all in the fire. Everyone pitched in, helping us out with moving, buying stuff, and just being a good friend. We had a private traveler's memorial service on the edge of a cliff in Travelerverse. We each got to say goodbye. Dad would have loved the spot. He always loved the ocean and the wind going through his hair. His hair? Okay. I'm not. I have hands full of puppy. I'm not going to address that right now. He said it made him feel free. Hi. Dude, I'm trying to read and record, and you are being a pest. You are being a pest. Okay. Now he was free. Free to be in the place he always loved to be. August and September moved quickly, and before I knew it, most of October was gone as well. It was just like I had gone to sleep, and when I woke, it was Wednesday, and I was late to herbology. Again. Dim tossed me a granola bar as I practically flew out of the dorm, and I barely registered that he should be in class. Recently, he had begun ditching more and more. Not that it was any of my business. Alright, please do not scratch the door, you dummy. Hey! Chewy! Oh, I hate him right now. We barely talked much anymore, not that we ever really talked a lot. However, he had taken it upon himself to text me good night and good morning every day. Oh my god. You know what? He can just be outside. That's fine. Alright. Leave, then. Jerk. Absolute jerk. Sorry about that. This is a cluster of an episode, but that's okay. However, he had taken it upon himself to text me good night and good morning every day. It had become our thing, and I felt a bit silly looking forward to those texts every day, but I did. He really was a big ol' softy. I rushed into herbology 10 minutes after it started, cursing my lack of sleep lately. For the last week, I had been feeling like a trip was coming, but for the life of me, it wouldn't come and snatch me. At this rate, I just wanted it over with because I couldn't sleep. Every time I got to the edge of slumber, I found myself almost falling, only to find I wasn't. It was annoying as heck, but I couldn't do anything about it. Because of this, I found myself finally falling asleep around 3 a.m., or even later, and not waking up in time. It was awful. Professor Paris gave me a heated glare as I slunk to my station. Trying not to stare as the brooch winked at me. I had had 3 more visions in class. Each brought that brooch and more murders, but was still no closer to figuring out what it truly was, what it did, and how I would get it from Paris. I was treading on thin ice around her, and I didn't want detention, mainly because I had a feeling I wouldn't be showing up even if I did have it. I just didn't have time for it. Again, Bishop? She's gonna have your head at this rate, Claire muttered, shoving a pot of slimy goop towards me as she kept her head down to not attract attention. The prof hated chatting in her classroom, but thankfully the sound of plants moving, the fans constantly blowing, and the buzz of various insects allowed for whispered conversations when she wasn't looking. I know, I'm really trying, but I just can't sleep at night, I whispered back, yanking on my gloves and grinning at Travis as he handed me a bottle of potion spray. Our task for the last 3 class periods, I cannot frickin' read and talk apparently today, sorry about that. Our task for the last 3 class periods had been, to doctor severely injured plants, hence the spray and smelly green goop that had the consistency of snot. Then just stay up. I'm coming. Incoming. She hissed, and we all busied ourselves with sad excuses for plants in front of us, straining not to flinch as she breathed down her necks. Oh my gosh. She was one of the scariest professors on campus and terrified everyone the closer she got. Final warning, Bishop. Otherwise there will be consequences, she snarled near my ear. I bit the inside of my cheek and nodded. Yes, Professor. Then she was gone, off to terrorize another student for something, and I blew out a heavy breath as I sagged in relief. You know she wouldn't hate you as much if you would just stop staring at that dang brooch of hers all the time. I mean, I know that the thing is hideous and would sell for a fortune, but it is so not worth it, Eli, Claire continued, shoving goop roughly into the wound on the thick stem of her plant. I eyed the sickly green gums, feeling bile coming up my throat as I was reminded of an old dying man without his dentures, no teeth, just gums. Ew. What? Okay. Yeah. I know. Trust me, I do. It's just complicated. I went to my travelers program class every Tuesday morning, and it was a joke. Just had a few scant students who thought traveling was a skill they could learn, or thought it was about tourist attractions and needed a free credit. It was taught by a teacher's assistant who couldn't do very much in the ways of magic, at least not the kind of traveling I myself did every day. Therefore, not many people I knew I was a traveler, and I didn't want just anyone and everyone to know. How complicated is it to keep your eyes off of someone else's possession? Sarcasm practically dripped off her tongue, and I saw Travis roll his eyes to the ceiling out of the corner of my eye. He thought she was funny. I promise to tell you just how hard sometime, I muttered, noticing the professor was making her way back over to our side of the greenhouse. She stayed nearest for the rest of the class period, so it was back to the painstaking work of mending broken plants and no talking for the rest of the time. In other words, boring. A while later, I walked out of the greenhouse and took my coffee from Pops. He raised an eyebrow at my exhaustion. Rough night, Tiger? Throwing his arm over my shoulder, we started walking. Yes. I haven't been able to sleep properly in weeks, I grumbled, downing the coffee in a few gulps. Come on, caffeine, kick in already. Don't rush it. You know it'll come grab you when it's time. He squeezed me in a side hug that made me feel better, then steered us to the on-campus pizzeria. Rolling my eyes, I let him. Pops was always bringing food or little treats to bribe the Coven kids with. He said it would make my life easier in the long run. He knew just how much of a handful they were. So that's how, 10 minutes later, we walked into the dorm with 5 pizza boxes each, 4 boxes of cheese sticks, and 2 jumbo orders of cinnamon sticks and icing. Oh my god, that sounds so freaking good. Carolyn and Ariana were in the kitchen with Madeline, along with Dim and his mother, Raid. I didn't see her nasty sidekick, aka dearest husband Narcus, so I guessed he wasn't here today. Good. I could only deal with so much negativity at one time, and Ariana won that hands down. The atmosphere turned tense as we plopped the pizzas on the counter, and I sneaked a glance at my Pops. He was biting his cheek, probably in an attempt to remain civil. I still hadn't told him about our fight the day he had returned, and I wasn't planning on it. Yeah, neither would I. But it was only a matter of time until someone told him. He could always sense the emotional turmoil in whatever room both my mother and I occupied. Oh, Michaels, you didn't have to bring pizza. Carolyn's tearful voice, if a bit forced, could be heard, trying to relieve some of the tension, I suppose. He turned towards her with his award-winning smile. It was no trouble, Caroline. I finished the last dregs of my coffee, and with regret, I tossed the empty cup into the trash can. As if sensing I needed more coffee, Pop got a cup from the cabinets and filled it with ice and soda for me. Oh, you can call me Carol, you know. She smiled at him, watching as I stood with on my tiptoes and kissed him on the cheek before taking a sip of the bubbly stuff. Now where's that Hawaiian pizza? I know, he said with a wink, before grabbing the paper plates. The kids would be home soon since it was a school day. Pop continued. So, what are we talking about today? The party. The fateful party. Pop and I had gone out one Saturday night for a night at the cinema and dinner, a fact that Madeline had taken advantage of and thrown a big party that the campus administrative staff had to come break up because it was too loud, obnoxious, and not allowed. Parents were called and detentions were given. Dim had apparently snuck in alcohol, and they were still paying for that in detention and fines. Pop had walked me back just in time for cleanup duty and to witness Dim and Madeline being yelled at by a furious Caroline and Raid. Let me tell you, a siren scream, even if it's not aimed at you, is terrifying. Just so you know, Raid is the siren. Ever since then, there was always a parrot in the dorm keeping an eye on things, and Madeline was still grounded by Caroline. Ariana hadn't seen a problem with a party or alcohol at a party where there were 11-year-olds. And she said my studies would affect her rep? As if. Oh, that. Yes. Because it is so smart to have alcohol in your bedroom. Right, Dimitri? Dim glared sullenly at the table and as he bit down a smirk. Madeline jumped to his defense. Oh, please. Who knows what contraband perfect Eli has? She sniped, and I resisted the urge to slap her silly. Madeline had a crush on Dim, and I didn't like it. At all. Not that I would ever admit it. Dim raised his eyebrows at her incredulously as Pop turned to me, seriousness lacing his tone. I didn't know you were perfect, Eli. Chuckling, I grinned. Oh yeah, I'm just a goody two-shoes who has absolutely no time for the kind of crap drugs and alcohol put you through. The last thing I need is to be higher than a kite and go traveling. In unison, we both winced, remembering the last traveler we had in our office before Peter and Trevor came along. His name was Kim Hong, would somebody else like to talk? Oh my god. An intelligent native of Japan who had discovered the wonderful world of drugs at parties, fell asleep, drunk out of his mind, and a rift came and got him. We learned weeks later a pack of wolves ate him somewhere in Russia, miles away from where he had appeared in the rift. A lesson to kids everywhere. Don't do drugs, especially with magic nearby. A funny pause filled the kitchen as everyone eyed each other in confusion. They really didn't know what traveling was, except for Dem. He stood and grabbed some pizza, brushing by me a little. Things had felt a little strange ever since that text. He hadn't mentioned the date, nor had I, but it was both on our minds. Pop cleared his throat, staring at Dem, who was so close our arms were touching. Eyes locked on our skin, he spoke up. Come on, Tiger. There's an NCIS marathon on right now. That was all it took for me and Pop to grab our food and plop down on the couch. The large flat screen turned to watch Gibbs get the bad guy. Slowly, everyone trickled in and joined us. Dim looked like he wanted to sit by me, but one look from Pop, and he joined Madeline on the love seat. Raid sitting beside me on the 3-man couch. Pop on my other side, and Caroline and Ariana took the chairs. For once, it was comfortable silence, filled with good eats, and a hilarious episode. It was nice and peaceful, just like life had been for the last 2 months. Of course, they always say peace can't last for long without chaos coming along to mess with the status quo. So, when I felt that tingling on my skin, I slowly and carefully put my empty plate and cup on the floor, tensing slightly. Pop noticed immediately and scooted as close as he could to the edge of the couch, motioning for Raid to do the same to give me as much room as possible. He stood and met my eyes, an understanding flashing between us. Come back to me. Then, with everyone watching me, I fell through the floor into another world filled with danger and adventure. Da-da-da-da! And that was the chapter. Told you it was pretty short. So definitely I need to work on things. Okay, so I noticed a few typos. Weren't horrible, but, not great typos either, but it's okay. I like how the dynamic and the dialogue. I think I was pretty decent at dialogue. Everything else I needed to work on. All in all, I felt like it was a pretty okay chapter, kind of going in between the craziness. Maybe it was a little short. I don't know. But yeah. Short and brief, just like today's episode, which is actually over 20 minutes. I'm kind of surprised by that. But yeah, so the next chapter is chapter 15, his request. We're now officially halfway for sure. More than half, actually, because we're at 132 pages of 207. I cannot believe I've read that many pages. Wow. That's quite a lot. But yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully we get a little bit more done on my cardigan. And yeah. Hopefully everybody's having a good Tuesday. I don't really have much to say. I am glad that I'm able to just read this without cringing now, because I have plans for the rewrite. I'm making my notes, stuff like that. So now I'm able to enjoy it a little bit. Plus, we're in the meat of the story and stuff, and I kind of know what's coming up. Like this next chapter, I'm really looking forward to it. So, yeah. But that is for next week. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys have a great week. See you next time, maybe. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But, yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I think I'm repeating myself now, so I'm just gonna go. Have a great Tuesday. Bye.